Hmm. Thinking about textures. Hello, and yes, and welcome, and sorry that this has been a bit of an irregular schedule. I know it's a bit frustrating for those that actually do look forward to this strange event that's becoming sort of a staple in the Tuesday evenings of our lives. Hello to all of you. It is episode 72, Thinking About Textures. Now, there's a bit more of a strategy tonight. The last episode was just it was quite long, wasn't it? It was about 2.5 hours where we were integrating a state machine and trying to make sure that we could make things editable. Let's just have a quick catch up with what we actually created. Well, we added different modes in our state machine, and if I create a shape for a rectangle, for example, we could then select the shape and we could move it around. In fact, let's add two shapes just to make sure, because things might crash. I haven't actually touched the code since that big session. We can select a particular shape and move it around. That's working quite nicely. And when we have selected a shape, we can press the Tab key to go and edit its control points again. Let's try this one. We have to come out. We have to go into shape mode. There we go. We can press this one, edit its control points again to edit the shape. And if we press Tab again, we can go into vertex mode. And I believe we made it so we could select a bunch of vertices and move them around. So we could start deforming the shapes into something non-standard. Let's just make sure that that works on here. Let's select that shape. Yeah, and we can skew these two down here a little bit. So we can take our basic primitives and distort them. If we go and then go back into control mode, I think as soon as we try and do anything with this, it resets the shape. Yeah, that's right, because the vertices lose their information. Yeah, I think we thought we'd think about that. So let's have a quick look who's here. Siggy's here, excellent. Bixie's here, Magetsub's here. Sorry, Magetsub, your Eurovision entry was something else. Channel Mouse is here, hello. Lance Jetski, I like that. No, that's a proper... that's a proper name, that one, isn't it? I like that. A blessed day to be alive. Indeed it is. It's very sunny outside, even though it's 8 o'clock in the evening, my time. Definitely summer's arrived, I think. Dr. Lokes, hello. Susan the Destroyer. Well, obviously type T, so it's a specific type there, Susan the Destroyer. Hello. Nearly ready for designing space stations again. We're getting there, Chelsea. Channel Long. One of the old hats sat in the back there, keeping an eye on things, making sure things keep moving. Johnny G is on time tonight. That's right. Well done. And good. I'm stopping you from doing the necessary chores around your house, I believe, as well. Morris is here. Waiting for the Bezos break to finish. Well, you miss all of my really cryptic intros. One of them, actually, Morris, was dedicated to you once, and I don't think you ever saw it. Never mind. You can always go and look on the YouTube Extra channel. Alex is here too. Good. So we've got a bunch of people. As usual, my Twitch dashboard is lighting up with all sorts of warnings and errors. I've obviously got something set up incorrectly, but I'm hoping it's all coming through. I can't see my own stream. It's telling me I have an unstable stream and that my bitrate is cripplingly low. But I don't actually think that that's true for a minute, because when I actually look at my broadcasting setup, I haven't missed any frames. Everything seems fine. Good. So what's happened over the last few weeks? Why have we not had lots of CodeZones? Well, as usual, life's getting in the way a bit. We had a state holiday here 2 weeks ago. And I used that weekend to create a video about the shunting yard algorithm, which seems to have gone down very well. And the trouble is with the shunting yard algorithm is it got out of hand. And I've subsequently gone on to build a full-on virtual machine and compiler. But we'll talk about that probably not tonight, but at some other video in the future. But that is one of the reasons why I've not really been progressing my editor very much. But I thought tonight we'd start to think about textures. Because we've been creating all of these very pretty shapes, and what else did we add? We added all the stuff that we're familiar with. So if I go into shape mode and create some new shapes, construct, there we are. So this is the one that we like, the one that we spent lots of time doing. And I think we also added another one, didn't we? That was it. Thick splines. There we go. Yeah. And it's great that they're flat shaded, and that is a desirable aesthetic. They may look a little bit dim here, and that's because I like to render them transparently to make sure that I get sort of as minimum overdraw as possible. So something to work on there, perhaps. Good, I'm pleased the stream is working well. Yeah, Siggy, I've only known it to sort of happen in the last 3 months or so. I think probably the minimum threshold for upload speed has gone up, and I'm just not hitting it, and that's why Twitch is complaining. But I want to add some texture. Now, I don't intend my graphics engine to be particularly texture heavy, but that's just my preference. I actually quite like flat shaded polygons as a look. If you've ever seen the children's television program, which I'm now very familiar, Hey Dougie, I think there's a particularly nice look about something elegant about the simplicity of it all. Yet it works very well. I'm a firm believer, and I actually backed this up when I was doing my academics. We're already going off on a tangent. Doing some academic research on sort of the quality of rendering. One of the things we were particularly interested in, I'm talking way back now in 2004, 2005, was something that made a bit of an appearance. We were interested in something called foveated rendering, and where we wanted to track the eye very closely to look at where the eye actually looking at in the screen. And if you had GPUs weren't that great back then, so why not just spend most of the GPU effort actually rendering the bit that you can see? In a bit of an example, if you don't know this sort of thing, if you hold your hand out like this and make a donut shape like that with your fingers, at any one time, that's kind of what you're looking at. And the rest of what you see is just your brain filling in the gaps. This is why optical illusions work. But one of the things that we noticed was you could actually start to introduce noise, and you see this all the time now in AAA games. You can introduce noise into the scene, and suddenly things start to look very realistic. And that's because your brain tries to compensate for the noise, and it compensates with things that it knows, and it knows the real world very well. Anyway, tangent. Why are we talking about this? I don't know. Anyway, because flat shaded shapes can sometimes be a little bit lifeless. It might be nice to sort of subtly accent them with some noise. And that's why I think Dougie works, because the shapes are very simple. Your brain fills in the gaps of what should be around them, and it becomes a very rewarding experience to watch. Right, let's have a quick catch up. Good. I'm glad the stream's working. Standard in. Hello. Morris has been checking the back catalogues. There we go. Could you add a bot on Discord that pings a group when you go live? I don't need to. You just go and subscribe to the content creator, OLC creators chat, and it's already there. Right? So it actually automatically fills that chat. Anyway, you're a moderator on the Discord. Sort it out. Okay, so I think adding texturing is an important thing, and there's quite a few different ways we can go about adding texturing. And what I thought tonight, just to start trying to hack things in, because we're only going to be here for an hour, is stamp texturing. And what I'd quite like to try is to introduce a rectangle into the scene, which represents the texture, and you can sort of stamp the shapes that we're drawing with that texture. So that means we're setting the texture coordinates based on some sort of world space transformation. Totally untested, don't know if it's going to work, don't even know how I'm going to go about implementing this. But what I do know right now is there is no mechanism for texturing at all, simply because our vertices don't have texture information. And so we're going to have to start to add this, and that will then start to cause problems, I'm guessing, with all sorts of other components of the editor. So I'm going to break things by very carefully adding BF2D text. Now I'm going to assume one layer of texturing for the time being and not multi-texturing. Now this could catastrophically start to break everything, because I don't know how that's going to now interact with the Sol installation and the Lua setup. I don't know how it's going to interact with all the drawing routines. We need to experiment with these things. Exactly, bugs. Oh, hey Diego, hello, good to see you here. So yeah, it's still complaining at me that my bit rate is all unusual and strange. So that's why I get a little bit distracted, because it's not subtle. These sort of flashing red lights it beams at me. So I'm just going to click run and see, do things still work with this sort of big undefined variable right at the heart of our program. Let's have a look. Let's see what happens. It might do, it might not. It might run, but actually isn't working very well behind the scenes. Who knows? We'll start with that to begin with. Well, we've not got a shape yet, but let's stick a shape in. Oh, it's okay so far. So maybe things aren't as devastated as they might appear. Let's have a look. It does all seem to be working. Give it a slightly more complicated shape. Going to... Oh, hang on. That's probably more to do with our state machine having something we've not thought about. Let's spin that again. Let's just try something a bit more... Yeah, okay, so it seems to be working. That's encouraging. That's telling me that the Lua implementation is working quite nicely. I was a bit worried because... Well, actually, maybe I know why the Lua thing is working. Now I'm thinking about it. Let's go and find some of the sol code. In our vertex type, when we're adding it, pixel vertex, we simply just don't add it to the construction. I'm going to stick with that for the time being because I've got a feeling if I actually add that, that will start to cause problems, and we'd have to go and then edit all of the Lua scripts. At the moment, I'm not too bothered about the Lua subscripts outputting the correct texture coordinate information. I'm going to do that post-processing. I do actually care about that later on, but for today, I just want to sort of smash some texture coordinates onto the shapes. You're on Starlink. You're sort of in the desert or something somewhere. Why would adding but not using a field break Lua code? Because the reason I was thinking it might cause us a problem is we construct the vector in C++ land, and the Lua script manipulates that vector. And if it's expecting the vector to behave in a contiguous way, then maybe there might have been a problem there. Clearly, it's not doing that. It's actually just representing the vector in some sort of lightweight abstraction, which is good. Right? That's better. So, okay, we can live with that. Okay, good. Textures. I think the first thing we need to do is actually load a texture and test that the texture drawing routines work, because they've not been tested at all. So let's try texture. Now, textures at the moment, remember this is PG3 sort of bootstrapped into PG2. So textures are just regular decals. So I'm going to use an OLC renderable type. We'll call it GFX text for the time being. Yeah, you see what I mean? Just in case it was doing something else. It seems to be okay. So it's letting the vector be a vector, and it must be accessing the elements actually sort of directly. Well, it's pretty good, pretty clever. It's good stuff, the Sol library. I do like it a lot. Now, in onUserCreate, I've lost onUserCreate, everybody. Where is it? I've just added texture to some random class there, haven't I? We don't want it in that one just for the time being. Let's keep it in the game engine itself. That's usually a bit better. We'll stick that in there and we'll load something. I've got here some textures available. I think we'll just load up grass.png out of the local assets folder. So GFX text.load assets /grass.png. We'll assume that that's okay. Yeah, it was some random class. So now I've got a texture loaded. Let's just test that we've got some working PG3 methods that can actually draw this thing. How am I going to do that? Let's do it by, were we drawing anything at all to begin with? We're drawing the infinity grid. Is that a PG3? That's a PG3 thing. Draw coupon, that's drawing the grid. So before we draw any shapes, let's just actually try and draw a texture. So if I do PG3, what have I actually got here? I've got textured, so I've actually got some things. That's a good start. Textured rectangle. The pos is going to be in the world pos here. So let's actually set this to our origin. So 0, 0, because I don't really know what the texture coordinate system should look like. The textured rectangle is pos size, and then we can specify 4 texture coordinates. That's nice, and 4 colors if we want to do that. So 0, 0f. Pos size will do 10 by 10. That's in world coordinates. And then it's the decal itself, so gfx text.decal. Then it's the beginning of our texture coordinates. Well, let's assume we may need a texture with some orientation sort of capability here. So 0.0, now textures are usually bottom left, aren't they? So it'll be 0.0f 1.0 for my first texture coordinate. Then if we're going these points, this is the other thing, I don't know the order it draws the points in. That's interesting, isn't it? Let's assume it's going, oh, I can't assume anything. I actually do need to know the order it's drawing them in. Peak definition. So texture coordinates, textured rectangle, follow that through. Keep going, keep going. So there's the default textured coordinates. Okay, that's useful to know. Let's copy those for the time being. We'll have those. We'll just paste that bit in there. Ooh, what's it done there? It's gone a little bit crazy with that last one. And I'm not bothered about specifying pixel colors at this point in time. So we're going to draw a rectangle at that location with the texture, and then it should go on to just draw everything else anyway. The draw queued polyform should go away and draw that. Let's just see what happens. Alter, I am pleased you've shown up because we're going to, just before we get started, there's our texture. So that's encouraging. It's actually loaded it up, and it is 10 by 10 squares in size. Very nice. A bit low resolution, that texture. What texture? Oh, it is low resolution anyway. I'm used to this texture being 1024 by 1024. Okay. Well, good. So it's a good enough texture for us to start using. And yeah, okay. So it does play ball with. Oh, that's interesting. What happens when you actually lose a shape? Not configured that edge case. Anyway, Alter, why am I pleased that you are here? The Geometry 2D library has sort of just been bubbling away in the background, and I'm getting to the point now where I'm actually starting to think about polygons. This editor is getting mature enough, and I've noticed recently, as I'm sure you have too, there's your polygon implementation, and I think there's 3 others which are on there, and I think it's time to start looking at them individually and maybe cherry picking the best bits out of them. One of the reasons I've been hesitant to do this is I'm quite keen to set up how the polygon is structured myself, just to make sure that it fits in with sort of my intended use for it and what I think is sort of the most flexible way of representing the polygon too. It's pretty simple stuff, but it forms the foundation. It's one of those things that if we get it wrong now, it's difficult to change later on. So it's not that I've forgotten that these polygon implementations have been submitted, and Alter's put in a load of groundwork into getting them done accurately and well. Pliskit, hello. Good to see you too. Did you all watch Eurovision, by the way? Oh. It says here Twitch is offline. Am I offline? I don't think I'm offline. You were reprieved this year. No, still streaming. No, see what I'm saying. Twitch it actually says you're offline. That's terrible. Good. So yes, that's one of the reasons we've been a little bit slow getting the polygon part of the Geometry 2D library off the ground. So good. I'm pleased that it's coming in okay. So what I wanted to be able to do was to take a shape like this and basically draw a textured rectangle around it or something like that, and you just sort of press a button and it stamps onto the shape that texture. Now it probably won't get it quite right in this situation. It's going to assume that the whole shape is textured, not sort of half painted. And how I'm going to do that then is basically set all of the shape's texture coordinates in some sort of world space wrapped around how the texture is transformed. So we're going to have to play with this. It's a little bit fiddly to sort out. So maybe it's worth starting to think about how we represent the texture object in the background, or we can just start to have some fun and games already and simply use what we've got here as a starting point, because I mean we've only got so long to play with these things and see if it works. And if we press a particular key, it's going to stamp the circle with those texture coordinates. Maybe that's actually how we can start playing with this. We're going to have some magic numbers in there, and I just want to see how does it feel as we start playing with it. And then the idea is that you'd be able to go into sort of vertex mode and then have a texture editing mode, and you could individually drag the texture coordinates around the texture in the background. I want it to sort of be intuitive and feel. If you've ever tried to texture something in Blender and then ended up just smashing your face into the wall repeatedly, you'll know what I mean. So I want it to sort of feel about right, that what you see is what you get when it comes to texturing. Yeah, exactly, Alta. I think I think that's the right way. The polygon itself is actually simple, but I just want to make sure we can do things with it. One of the things I'd like to be able to do with it is sort of Boolean operations too, and that might require some additional meta information as part of the polygon construction. Oh man, mind is blown. We have typed a line of code. We've added texture coordinates, and we've drawn this. Look, we added 2 lines of code already. Getting there. Well, hopefully, exactly, the collision stuff's all there. What I need to do is get around to a bit more of a sensible tutorial of how the collision stuff should be used. The documentation for the Geometry 2D library is lacking. It's good that in the file itself there's lots of interesting comments and it's easy to navigate, but actually using it is not that clear. But it still seems quite popular. People keep starring it, so that's good. Right, so we need to pick up a special key. I'm going to assume this is the nominated texture, and that's how we're going to sort of texture everything all the time for the time being. Excuse me. And we need a special key when we're in... We can do it in any mode, I suppose. Probably the best one to do it in. Let's just do it in shape mode to begin with. That's the simplest one. So if we're in shape mode... Now, we created this lovely variable, didn't we? MEdit mode U8. 4. And then Hungarian notation was this member variable of a type enum class called edit mode, stored as unsigned 8-bit integers. See, it works, right? Anybody that disputes that this sort of notation works, it does. I can't remember why we came up with this. I think it was funny at the time, but that's obviously what it means. Straight away, bang, done. Good stuff. Right, so if we're in idle or shape edit mode, and if we press a particular key, this is just drawing stuff, isn't it? Do we have a separate set of states up here for actually interacting? We did. That's even more important then. So if we're in shape mode, and we'll have a key pressed, the key pressed when we're in shape mode will be T for texture. Why not? If yet key OLC key tab dot be pressed. So if we press the tab key when we're in edit mode for the shapes, we're going to apply the texture. So we want to make a few things. So it looks like we can actually iterate through some stuff already here. Let's see if this works. So our auto p vex shapes poly.verts, that will have the texture component. Those verts are in world space, don't forget. They're not sort of local to the shape. So we're already kind of there. We just need to set the right thing. So p.text equals, in this case, we're going to hack it a little bit. p.pos. Now that's in world space, but for the texture code, we know the size of our texture. This is disgraceful, I know at the moment, but we'll normalize it because we know our texture is 10 by 10. So pressing the tab key should apply the texture in that way. We probably also then need to tell the shape that it is textured. So let's add a flag into our shape. Vex shapes, N shapes. Dot. We've got our script, our polygon. Should probably just be the polygon itself. Dot. Yeah, okay. Textured. equals true. And we'll need to go and add that into our shape. Sorry, our polygon type up here. Bool textured. Oh, come on. Equal false. Oh, David. Tell I'm tired. I've had a big week in. Start again. A big week at work over the last couple of weeks. I've launched a new product. Well, I'm launching a new product in Korea. It's happening in 3 weeks' time. But in order to get everything, there's about 600 kilograms of equipment going out there. So it's been a big push to get the demonstration and everything done, and hopefully it's going to go well. But we've been a few late nights trying to get all of this working out. Getting tab in a row. Oh, hang on. Yeah, T. Yeah, T. You're correct. You're quite right. I've mentally not put the right thing in. It's always good that there's sort of eagle-eyed nerds on the internet. What would I do without you? There we go. Particularly all of those people that pointed out the associativity problem in the shunting yard video. 511 is the line. You don't need line numbers. You've got Visual Studio. It tells you where you've been editing. It's okay. Line numbers. Needs those. What was I doing? I was adding a flag to the polygon. Which we've now set to true, which means when we're drawing that particular shape, we perhaps want to draw it differently. Now, I don't know if textured polygon works, so that's interesting, isn't it? Looks like we... hang on. We can decompose polygon. Act needs to be altered as well. And this is where things might start to fall apart. Let's have a look at this decompose polygon function. Just go to it. Don't, if it's in the same file, just go to it. Sort of pop things up. So we're pulling out the different things that we need. Oh, we've got UVs in there. Oh, we're just setting them out. Look at this. See, it looks like we've thought about trying to do these things at some point in the past. But it looks like we're setting them deliberately at the moment. Now, that may start to fail. We shall see. We shall see indeed what's going to go on there. UV is a better name for texture coordinates. Okay, so we're returning the parse the UVs. I do like the multiple return syntax now in C++. Was that, did that come in, what version of C++ did this come into? It must have been fairly recent, but I'm willing, whenever I think something's recent, it turns out it was C98 or something that it came in. So we're going to fill the polygon if it's not textured. So if vec shapes i.poly.textured, we're going to do a different one, or else we're just going to draw it as normal. C++ 17, there we go. That's pretty recent for me. C++ 6. Reworking, first time chat, hello. So right, let's try this. So I don't know if this function actually works. It might not even have any implementation, in which case then I'm going to get bogged down rather embarrassingly live on stream into trying to implement some sort of textured polygon drawing implementation live and unhindered. But let's see what we've got. Textured, see the function is there. Just because that's there, don't assume for a minute that that means it works. Right, pause, colors, text coords, and then the texture itself. Okay, so we can have all of those. Vert UVs, and then the texture, GFX, text, it's just UV, GFX text.decal. What else is on? This is a very big function. Oh, it's just coloring. Okay. So that's going to draw the shape if it has a texture or not. Still maintain a C++ 6. When you say C++ 6, do you mean sort of Visual Studio 6 solution? Or do you mean Turbo C++ version 6? Wow, that could be. Right, I'm going to click play and see what happens. Because I have no idea what happens with the show. Yes, 98. Right, so let's, where's our oh, hang on, I've lost my texture already. Where's it gone? There it is. Right, let's bring you into view. We know we've got our circle shape, so I'm just going to create a circle. There we go. And I can pick that up. And what I'm hoping is I can press T. Look at that, right? So it's assumed the texture that it's... Oh, it's not quite right. Look, it's actually upside down. That's interesting. That's a problem with it. But it is now sort of texture. So that's pretty cool. It's textured, but it's also coloured as well. Fine, it's because we've been colouring the vertices. Let's try a different shape. So if I press... What was... what shape was the star? Was that 4? Okay, yeah, 4 was the star. So let's draw a star. We've drawn one here. Let's stick you there. So some of these texture coordinates are out of bounds. No idea what's going to happen here if we press T. So it kind of gets it. But now that one's in order. Now, oh, is it? Is it? Yeah, it kind of is. Got some duplication in our star here as well. Interesting stuff going on there. We're going to have to sort of really kind of analyze this. Speedy's here. You don't get away with it, Speedy. Everybody highlights it when you're late. Let's just see what happens now if I do another circle. So circle, a big one this time, but I just want to put it over half the shape because what we should see is it should still texture, but you'll start to see sort of reflections. Now that was not what I was expecting it to do. We must have the texture clamped. So although I quite like that effect. You weren't late, but thank you, Alex. It's mirrored in, yeah, well, it's kind. I think so. I think it's upside down. I think it's also scaled a bit because that star, for example, it's definitely not upside down, but it is distorted. Based on things that's going on. This one kind of looks like it's lensed, doesn't it? Interesting. That one's definitely sort of flipped. I don't have oh, do I? Oh, let's try this. Let's see. So if I go into control mode and I change this point, which will get rid of all of the existing coordinates, and I turn it round like that. So now technically, is the shape upside down? I don't know. Let's have a look. Shape mode, go back in. Texture. Yeah, yes, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. It might be that the control points are not actually rotating. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. The control points are not rotating the shape. They just cause the start and end vertices to change. Okay. Interesting stuff. I quite like that though, the fact that we can sort of stamp the texture onto a weird shape. Let's try another one. So if we try our donut, go to shape mode. If I pick donut and then draw one here and one here, section of a donut like that, and click, and then go texture. Oh, I'm creating something. Hang on, we didn't have the shape selected. Don't know what's being drawn now. Don't know. Select that shape. Let's move it into somewhere there and go T for texture. Now you see that one's. See, it's not quite the same, is it? Something is changed. You're right. There is some sort of flip. We'll have to get a slightly more obvious texture to try and work that out. Is it mirrored on a 45-degree angle? Possibly. Possibly is. The gap between the top right stone and the bottom left is something's not quite right about it, is it? See, it's looking at this one and this one. I think you're right. It's mirrored it along the XY axis. Why does it do that? Because it's consistent across all of these shapes too. If I pull this one over, See, because now this is one of the reasons I like, and a good demonstration, having snap to grid facilities straight away, because look, I can actually get those to line up properly. I think there we go. So what's going on? So the texture it seems accurate, but you're right. It's mirrored 45 degrees. Now, is that a problem with the texturing from the world coordinate, or is it a problem with how we're drawing this texture as part of our textured rectangle? So I think we need to choose. Yeah, I think it's a problem with how we're drawing the textured rectangle, because look, let's choose a different texture. Let's choose something that's a bit more visible. Okay, we should have done that first time around. Yeah, thank you, Diego, for check your UV coordinates. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for that sound wisdom. As if that's not the entire thing that we're doing right now. We are building UV coordinates into the system. What was I doing? Let me like Diego. You could totally derail my train of thought there. Loading up a different texture. We need to go to the onUser create function, don't we? Where have we got? That's down here. So we're going to choose logo. Let's pick a different one. So logo 240 by 240. Logo 240 by 240. At least this has some feature on it that we'll be able to sort of understand. Let's find our texture. So our oh, it's not found it. Logo, underscore 240 by 240. Right, so this is the default. So well, there we go. So to begin with, we've got our source texture is clearly incorrect, but I am willing to bet. I'm not willing to bet, and I'm not that brave. Let's just try drawing another circle again. Circle. And we'll drag that onto there and press T. There you are. So it is actually sampling it properly, but the texture in the background is being drawn skewed. Interesting. So it looks like we need to flip the two other corners from our default corner. That's a good bug. That's an interesting one that we've just found there. That's quite nice though, isn't it? Look at that with the transparency effect. I like that a lot. Yeah, Speedy, you are like making a lot of noise, mate. So keep it down. Right, let's fix that bug then. So clearly my drawing routine for textured, well, we can change our coordinates order. Down, where did we alter this? Where did we draw the shape? We drew the shape here. So we're drawing top left, top left. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. This one should be 1. That's what we started typing originally. And then that makes this one. That goes start up there. Then let's go down. And then go across. And then back up, which is the same as warped decal. We've probably got this wrong. Let's have a look. Well, we've rotated it 90 degrees. But it's not mirrored anymore. It's an improvement. Oh dear. We could be here for some time. Right, if we wanted to rotate these, is that all I need to do? I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's see what happens. I need to understand, because I don't know where it's taking the pos and the size. I don't know the order it's constructing the polygon in. Ah! Dang it. So we wanted to go the other way. Okay. There we are. Let's try that. Sure, that might be what we had originally. Oh, Oh, I've got a comma in the wrong place. Yeah, trying every permutation possible. It's called Stream Filler Channel, right? You'll learn these things when you become a mega Z-list mediocre internet celebrity. Right, there we go. So, do you see how I nicely sort of naturally assumed that just changing the order there by using the Alt key would actually handle the rotations for us? I just love the way that sort of everything logically just works when you get going. Right, good. So we've got our texture. Let's try again with a shape. So we'll pick our donut shape again. D, click, click, and we'll bring that down there. Draw a donut. Select that shape. We'll move it in a little bit there. Press T. And it has textured our donut in the right place. Isn't that nice? I like that. Very good. Now, the idea is that you'd be able to then select the shape, and it will show you the texture that you've sort of stamped onto it. And then you can distort that texture, move it around and things. So you're sort of editing it sort of in real time. You wear my mouse wheel out. Well, fortunately, I'm in the process of securing a new mouse. Only 24 possible permutations. Yeah, we got there in the end. It's a nice way to texture things. Obviously, you lose the shape in this transparent mode because we've kind of lost the rest of the shape. So let's choose a texture. Now, I want to choose something a little bit more realistic for kind of what I'd be trying to do. I'm going to try and find a paper texture. I'm just going to quickly Google something. I'm going to steal an image, straight up steal something. Hopefully it won't have like Shutterstock written in the background. Let's have a look. JPEG. No, I don't want a JPEG. Texture. Just download the image. Ugh. Yeah, that's not kind of what I was looking for. These look like crumpled up sheets of paper. We'll take that one. Right, open image in new tab. So I've taken this from a website called unblast.com. I guess that could be kind of rude if you pronounce it incorrectly. I'm guessing this is stealing textures from all over the place, but you know, I will actually source something, or I'll generate something in Affinity. But just for the time being, I'm going to save this one in the project folder we're working in. I'm just doing this off screen, so I'm looking around with files. And I can load JPEGs in Pixel Game Engine, if you didn't know. Paper.jpg. Okay, so the texture is this. It's not kind of what I wanted. I didn't really want sort of speckled and things. I just wanted something that was a bit more interesting to look at. So we've got that paper texture. Let's go and have a quick. Let's throw that into the setup. Now, how is this going to work? Where do we edit? Oh, here we go. Paper.jpg. Now, it's not anymore 10 by 10. The size of our paper, if I quickly look at this, is 1024 by 768. So if I divide that by 128, what's that? It's 10. No, it's 8 by 6. Is that right? Yeah, 8 by 6 units high. So we'll need to factor that in when we're drawing the texture. So let's change that then to 8 by 6. But let's make it really big. Let's make it 80 by 60. Excuse me. So 80 by 60 here. Does this work? I can't remember if I actually implemented this. Does this work? If I do 80 by 60. I think I've got to tell it it's a... Does that do element-wise division? I hope it does. So we'll do that, and then when we're drawing the shape down here, We'll also set this to 80 by 60. Why have I chosen these numbers? Well, I want it to be large enough that it's interesting to see. I want us to be able to sort of stamp quite a few shapes into it in different locations. Just see if it loads first. Okay, so there is the paper texture that we've just loaded in. Good, nice. And you see, what I wanted was something large. Even though it's loaded in, it's actually not as high resolution as you think. You keep forgetting now. I'm used to, when something says it's 1000 by 700 pixels, I keep thinking, whoa, that's an amazingly massive image. But then it's actually not quite as big as the Pixel Game Engine window. So anyway, let's run. Let's draw a star. So click, and we'll pull you out. And I want to push you into there, and we go T. And we ever so slightly, subtly texture the star. Now the vertices are coloured. That's quite nice. I like that. Let's pick a circle again. Circle. I don't know what's going to happen there, because when it clamps, it's just going to it's going to look like it's gone solid at the edges, isn't it? Oh, I'm in construction mode for a triangle. We'll come back to that. If I select shape and then go tick. Yeah, you see, it is in clamping mode, so that's why it doesn't look very nice. So let's go and just texture the whole thing. Let's go back, T, ever so subtly textured with a paper-like outline. I like that. And this just starts to add a little bit of detail to the file. Let's take our triangle and go T. So there we go, it's our orange texture triangle. Now everything's sort of orange shaded because that's been the default color of the editor so far. I think there are some of the shapes which are different. So if I pick my funky line, take this one. This is going to be a real workout for this. Let's try that and go tick. Oh, I've done it again. I'm in construction mode. Let me just quickly draw that triangle. Move it out of the way. Shape mode. Textured it. Let's pull that out. It's ever so slightly transparent as well. It might make this difficult to see, but it is textured. That's nice. Now, interestingly, I wonder what happens when we start to actually edit some of these vertices. Do the textures deform with it too? So if I go to vertex mode and select some, start to move them, oh, it does. Now that's very subtle, but that could be quite useful. Very nice. That's worked a lot better than I thought it was going to work. And it almost looks like organic now, isn't it? Like a sort of pulsating ball of evil that's about to burst out. Yeah, I think it's pretty sweet, that one. That's the right phrasing to use. That's working very nicely. I did have a nice pink shape. What was the pink shape? Oh, the splines, isn't it? That's what we were working on. So if we do come out of vertex mode, go into... Oh, I knew that was going to happen. For some reason, if I go through the cycle twice, it crashes out. Never mind. Let's just have a look at a... I don't want sort of all transparent shapes. And I think this is the only one I've got that's got some colour to it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we start drawing the size. And then right-click to finish. Select the shape. Texture it. And let's pull it out. Yeah, but it's a bit too transparent to actually see. I think the vertices look quite nice in the splines after we finish. Oh no! See, it's something's wrong with our state machine there. Let's go and have a look. What's going on with our state machine? Ah, probably this. UVs. Draw a polygon. That looks okay, but the shape being hovered over is incorrect. Yeah, I don't know why we ever want to draw the polygon of the shape being hovered over. It should be shape selected at that point, I think, when we're in vertex edit mode. Okay. Same for that one as well. It should be shape selected. Yeah, we've probably made that error in a few places. You know what OLC is all about, balls. We're good at balls on OLC. Right. Let's just try that again. So the spline was this one. Click, 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 click. Right click. Select the shape. Texture it. We'll drag it out the way. This time, if I go into control mode, that should get rid of all the texture coordinates because it will regenerate the vertices. And if I press vertex, so there we go. So I just want, in case you didn't see that from last time, sort of the nice spread of triangles that we've created. So that's texturing in world space. I think that's the easiest approach. The real challenging one is you don't always want to texture in world space. This is nice for just giving things a quick look, a quick vibe. But if you actually need to texture a shape specifically, you've got no hope. So the next phase would be to add some sort of layer of information that when we select this, it then perhaps displays the texture in situ, and you can drag the texture coordinates independently of the vertices into the texture itself. Now that might start to look like a real mess when you bring it together, but nobody's really going to be manually texturing a complicated shape like this. I don't feel, at least anyway. And if you are, then we probably would want to automate how those texture coordinates work. It's far more likely people will be texturing by hand basic simple shapes. So I think what was shape 1? I can't remember. Have a look. Shape 1 was so stuff like this. Fan. So that's a basic fan. Right click there, go in and texture. Yeah, so that's basic fan mode. So that might be the kind of thing you do want to sort of texture manually to make it line up with your shape or your face or whatever you're sort of mapping on. Okay, texturing works quite nicely then. So the paper textures, if we had more choice over the colours, that might start to be a bit more interesting. And it's very, very subtle on these sort of alpha'd shapes. It's probably no good now. We haven't really looked at how do we colour the vertices. That's probably something else we should be thinking about. But at some point, I've got to start bringing this back home and bringing it into the editor that we've already started developing. What shape was this one? This was strips. This is actually pretty useful. So these are the sort of things you might want to texture by hand. Orange was a terrible choice of colour for this, really, now. Now we've got to textures. So in control mode is just editing the vertices. It's no different to vertex mode in that respect. So I can edit those, bring them up here. And then if we go to shape mode, pull that up here. T for texture, very nice. It has done it. It is subtle. You probably don't see it on the stream, but because the texture is so subtle, but it is there. Okay, but the nice thing is we've kind of proved that the framework is capable of supporting these things. That's a big step up. Just to make sure that the textures are visible, because I don't think they're necessarily all coming through on that stream. I'm going to pick one final one here, which is the sky texture, sky.png. Which should certainly be visible regardless of it being orange. Let's try that one. Sky.png. Use bounding box projection. Oh, so sort of like the yes, that was sort of going to be my first pass at it. That you just sort of distort the texture itself around the shape. So you can move the vertices of the texture is certainly one option. Now let's draw a star, because stars are nice. Huh? We've not drawn what was this shape? S. So look, S was that. S was a segment with an interesting shading to it. Nice, like that. So let's put you in there. Texture, yoink, pull you out. Oh, starting to look a little bit like a planet when it's like that, isn't it? And if we go to the edit mode for the vertices now, Move that around. Yeah, you could start to make it appear a bit more. Let's just try that actually. Let's go draw a circle. C for circle. Nice big circle. Let's draw that somewhere about there. Go texture me, please. And then if we go to vertex mode and move the middle around, can we can, yeah, not really. It's not very spherical. Kind of like you want 2 points to do some sort of pseudo sphere. But also, if we change the sort of vertex colouring as well, that could help a lot too. It looks more like a cone pointing at the screen, doesn't it? Which I guess it kind of is now, really. Yeah, it's a cone. There we go. Yeah, it is a little bit like I remember that project. Yeah, that was some third-party library that he downloaded and just implemented a PG front end for. Yeah, so I think that the potential for pseudo 3D stuff, and I really like pseudo 3D techniques, is high now. Just with the right shading. You could manipulate this. I'm sure we had some other keys on here that did things. I just can't remember what they did. A? No, A wasn't one. I'm looking for... I can't remember what shapes we had. What have we got? Rectangles, donuts, stars, triangles. No, it doesn't look like I've actually got anything else. We'll do a star, though, because they're pretty. Do a big one. Big pointy one like that. Shape, texture. It's interesting with the star. Clearly, we've got an overdraw. That's why we're seeing this sort of bright section. So it's doing one triangle too many. Do like that. And if we go alter some of these now, so we pick that one. Yeah, so there's clearly one too many. I don't think I can pick up the point individually that's too many. No. This is half the fun of sort of developing your own things like this, is just playing with them afterwards. If you end up playing with it out of curiosity, you're probably on the right track with your project. If it's actually fun to use it yourself, then that's a good motivator to keep going. Anyway, we're nearing the end now, and you can already hear I'm starting to lose my voice. So I'm pretty pleased with how that's panned out. It looks like we can throw texturing into the editor nicely, simply, and reasonably intuitively. I think if we want to do precise texturing, we really need to think carefully about how we handle the texture coordinates. I'm going to go back to immediately carrying on with my compiler projects. I've just mentioned I'm enjoying that one a bit too much. I've started developing the language, and when you start, emulating things like the include keyword and how functions are written in a virtual machine, it becomes really fun. And I'm just seeing the potential for lots and lots of videos out of this one project, and it's kind of writing itself too. There's momentum behind it, so I'm enjoying it too much at the moment. So that's what I am going to get on with. Until then, everybody, take care.